right, sick. What's up, guys? My name's Matt Pieper. I'm the second trumpet player in the Orlando Philharmonic. We're here on BYO Beats. Let's go.
Yeah,
Love
let's
it.
do
Love the
it.
enthusiasm. We're starting off, as always, in the anthem. Remember, we got 6 segments. We're going to do 2 segments each week. Each segment has a song and a beer pertaining to a theme. First theme is the anthem. So, what's popping right now? For the beer, the selection was from Orange County Brewers, the Green Dragon IPA. So, Matt, I understand this is actually kind of a tough beer to get.
Yeah, so this is a brewery that is actually right across the street from my apartment in Lake Mary, Florida, which is a suburb in Orlando. So it's very easy for me to walk and get to, but for my friends across the country, yeah, they had to find something a little bit like it, but something green teeny, something IPA. I don't know. Orange County Brewers, hopefully they'll start shipping stuff out everywhere else. They've got a couple locations in the Orlando airport, so seems to start getting pretty big, except maybe eventually. What are you guys drinking that's close to this?
Yeah, so I've got Sprucey Spruce from Phase 3 Brewing Company. This is a Spruce Tip IPA. So I figured, it's kind of herbal IPA. This is from Lake Zurich, Illinois. So kind of my old stomping grounds. Doss, what'd you get?
Did not get that close. I mean, it's adjacent to what you guys are drinking.
It's
Uh,
green tea at Jace. We love it.
yeah. I figured like what do you put in tea? Some people put honey in their tea, so I have a hop slam.
Hey, you know what? We'll take it. We take
Yeah.
those. All right, let's get the ceremonial first crack.
Oh God. So
Waiting patiently, waiting patiently.
it's a 6 pack, and I didn't open the 6 pack yet. Okay.
Rookie mistake, bro. All right. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Oh no, there is foam on the ground.
Better than foam in the air. That didn't
What?
make,
Uh,
that didn't make any sense.
Nope, and I did it to myself. Look at it. This is how you know it'll be a
Ooh.
good
Yeah,
show.
I over foamed too a little bit.
Not like me.
I
Cool.
was at a brewery last night with a good friend of mine, and he ordered a Czech Pilsner. And the specific tap that they were using was designed to keep this Czech Pilsner from getting exposed to the air. So when they started pouring the Czech Pilsner, his cup got this much foam in it. And then like because of that the cup was like this tall because they had to like make sure he was getting the full beer pour in there with this much foam. And the guy was
Wow.
like, let it go down for 20 minutes and then start drinking. And he seriously he had to sit there for 20 minutes and
20
then
minutes.
eventually yeah, it was crazy, bro. The foam was nuts. It was like that big. So
I would have said, "Can I have another beer while I'm waiting for that one?" Like, I would have definitely finished another beer in 20 minutes.
but now that I'm like saying this whole story out loud, maybe the guy actually just did a really bad pour and he knew it was gonna be bad, so he was like, "Yo, this is totally intentional, bro. I swear."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that
I
sounds
have
like
heard of
bartender stuff.
I have heard of certain European beers that require certain types of pours. Czech Pilsners may be one of them, depending on the brand. But yeah, those are fun beers.
Hmm.
All
Anyway,
right, this is pretty good. It's very very sprucey. Like it tastes like a Christmas tree. Smells.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I got this beer a couple months ago for the first time when I moved into my new apartment because they do to-go cans at this brewery. And I just one day I was like feeling it and I walked over and then I saw this thing. I was like, Green Dragon, that looks cool. And I had never heard of a green tea IPA before. And I was like super intrigued by it, like never had anything like that. And the first time I tasted it, I was like, wow, this is like my new go-to beer, man. And it has been for like 6 or 7 months now since I moved here. It's
hmm,
awesome. Love it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I had an Earl Grey one, an Earl Grey tea beer. I think with you, Johnny. I think we were in.
That was at the Goose Island tap room, right?
No, the one we went to with Ryan Crampier.
Oh, that was a Lulu.
Yeah, yeah.
in Chicago. Yep.
Ooh, where in Chicago is that?
Pilsen.
Okay. My
So,
fiance lives up in Chicago, so
oh, cool.
I'll have to go make my way up there and try that sometime. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat spot.
Nice.
So Matt, you're in the Orlando area. Did you ever
Hmm.
did you ever go down to Miami much or not so much?
Like for work or just for play?
Either one. But
Either or.
the, yeah, the reason I ask is because I know Miami is like famous for its like Cuban Hispanic food, and so is Pilsen. So like I was gonna, I know Johnny has like 7 to 10 suggestions for you if you head up there.
Oh
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I'll have to hit you up for that, man. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
as for Miami, yeah, I've played a couple times down there on just like random gigs that get you in your car with enough money to make you want to hop and drive down 3.5 hours and I-95 traffic while dudes in a Ford Pinto jacked up or blasting Bad Bunny and doing circles around you. Like that's got me down there a couple times to go play. But when I was an undergrad, I actually used to go down to Miami a good bit because the Cleveland Orchestra does a residency in Miami every year. They do 2 consecutive weeks of concerts down at the Arch Center in Miami, which is this beautiful performing arts center right on the water. It's like it's New World's second home. Obviously their main home is the New World Arts Center that they play at in like Miami Beach, except their second home is the Arts Center and stuff. And Cleveland would come down, and I would see them like every year in my undergrad for those 2 weeks in January. So,
Hmm,
yeah, that's where I have been to Miami probably the most. I would say is to go down do that. But super
gotcha.
cool place. They have good breweries down there. There's one called Trippin' Animals. It's in a burb called Doral, Florida. I forget how close it is to Miami area, but it's really good. I get a lot of their stuff at like beer bars up here. So if you ever see a
Cool.
Trippin' Animals, definitely check that out. Good stuff.
The only the only Florida brewing company that I know for sure is Florida is Cigar Store. Is that what it is?
Cigar City.
Cigar City. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, down in Ybor. Yeah, that's the old cigar district in Tampa area. That's about
Yeah.
2 hours from where I live. Yeah. Yeah. Super cool down there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. They have a beer called Florida Man. They have
I
Oh
think I've had
Lord.
that one.
yeah.
I think I know
High,
a couple of those.
yeah. High Lie and High Low. High Low is their like low calorie beer. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I love that.
So anyway, Matt, you mentioned Bad Bunny in Miami. I feel like that's a good segue
Perfect
to
segue.
first song.
Yep.
Yeah, so as a reminder on this show, we are going to every segment take a quick break and listen to the song and then come back and talk about it. So for you listeners, you got a little bit of homework if you want to understand what we're talking about. So if you go to our link tree, which is available, linktr.ee/BYOBeats, or you go to our Instagram bio, it's linked right there. There is a link on there to a playlist on Spotify, BYO Beats Podcast, the complete collection, and it is every song we've ever featured on this show in order. So scroll to kind of near the bottom, well, I guess depending on when you're listening, right?
Right.
If you're
True.
listening closer to when this is released, closer to the bottom, and you're going to look for the song called Una Valita from Bad Bunny, and that's what we're going to listen to first, and then it'll be the next 6 if you're keeping up in order. So we're going to take a quick break and listen to that, Una Valita by Bad Bunny, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we just listened to Una Valita from Bad Bunny, translates to A Little Candle. So,
Oh,
yeah, if I'll just say this real quick. It's a folk and plena genre song, um, and the lyrics are about lighting a candle during Hurricane Maria in 2017, and how the infrastructure of Puerto Rico has not improved since then. 8 years now for those keeping track at home. So, with that out of the way, kind of explaining that a little bit, Matt, what makes this your anthem right now?
Well, I mean, a big thing is that Bad Bunny just put out a really great new album. That any of your listeners, if they haven't heard this album, should absolutely go check out. It's his most recent album. I don't have great Spanish pronunciation, so I'm just gonna call it DTMF, because that's the name of a song on the album and it's the abbreviation for the name of the album. But basically, what I love about this album and what I love about this song and everything with Bad Bunny's been putting out recently is that it's a very Puerto Rican nationalist song. It's a very Puerto Rican like nationalist album. So. Um, the cool thing that I heard about recently is with this new album, the like if you translate a lot of the songs, Bad Bunny is talking about how he's very displeased with the direction that Puerto Rico has gone in terms of America putting a lot of industry into Puerto Rico that isn't what the people want, and eventually people are scared that Puerto Rico is going to turn into a place like Hawaii where America brings in a lot of hotels and a lot of resorts and
Mm,
things that aren't
yeah.
necessarily wanted by the people.
Right.
So he's making this album to talk about how he doesn't want that to happen and bringing people's awareness to it. And he put on, I forget when it starts, but I know a couple of people are actually going to this. He started a month-long residency of concerts that he deliberately made affordably priced for Puerto Rican uh, islanders to go to, and he's taking 100% of the proceeds and he's going to donate it to in like revitalizing industry in Puerto Rico and getting them to the point where they don't need a lot of American hotels and American help,
Right.
so like hearing about everything that's been going on over there and then seeing what he's doing and then knowing this song is about Hurricane Maria, which is something that definitely sped up a lot of that sad process to go on down there. Like I'm not Puerto Rican except being from Orlando. Orlando is a city where a lot of Puerto Ricans moved after Hurricane Maria.
Hmm.
Because like Miami, like we were talking about a bit ago, has a very big Cuban population because a lot of Cubans would come over the Gulf of Mexico
Right.
back in the 1900s. And as soon as they touched land, they became American citizens. Uh,
Right.
Puerto Ricans already are American citizens, so they didn't have to go through a thing like that. Except when Hurricane Maria hit, a lot of them just happened to move to Orlando. There's like specific suburbs in Orlando that are kind of known as places where a lot of those people were displaced by Hurricane Maria. And like one of my best friends is Puerto Rican trumpet player who plays with a bunch of like touring merengue artists and salsa artists and stuff. And like the people that he meets on his gigs are people who lived through Hurricane Maria. Like he has a friend who's another trumpet player that plays in one of the bands he plays with that has this crazy story about how during the hurricane, him and his wife were separated on like different parts of the island, and because like he had to be with his family, she had to be with hers because they both had like elderly parents and they had to take care of them in case something really bad happened, which it did, but the hurricane hit, and you guys being both northerners, like I'm assuming you've never lived through a hurricane, and
Nope.
probably like yeah, don't like obviously you see the stuff on the news, so I'm sure you know how like bad they are,
Mhm.
except
Well, but
it
that you don't. That's no. I think we would both agree that we have no idea what that would feel like to
No
have
idea.
that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, and where I live in Florida specifically, like, I live in Orlando, which is about the center of the state. So hurricanes slow down as soon as they touch land.
Right.
So, like, a hurricane can go from a five when it touches land down to a two or a one by the time it hits Orlando. So, luckily, I haven't personally had to deal with much. But in the case of an island like Puerto Rico, Hurricane Maria came and it just flattened almost the entire island. Like it knocked out all the cell towers so people couldn't communicate. It knocked down like forests of trees in between roads and where people lived. And this guy who one of my best friends is a colleague with, he like it knocked down the cell signal so he couldn't reach his wife. And he had to take a chainsaw himself and swim through flooding, cutting down trees with the chainsaw along the way so that he could reach his wife and her parents to make sure that she was okay.
Wow.
Holy crap! Like,
Yeah. So it's just, like this song, talking about Hurricane Maria and the infrastructure and all that damage, like I have a couple, not my personal stories, obviously, because I haven't lived there and I wouldn't ever claim to truly understand what that feels like. But
right.
knowing people who live through that, like it hits, man. It seriously hits.
Man.
And also the beat's pretty sick, so that's cool.
It
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
yeah. I gotta say, in my time in Chicago, I got exposed to a lot of this genre of music, reggaeton. Um, so, do you find yourself listening to a lot of this style of music, or is it more just Bad Bunny specifically?
I would say that it's like he was kind of my for the lack of a better word, gateway artist, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was the first one I really knew because honestly he's like the biggest,
Mhm.
and like the hit like his evolution within his genre as an artist is frankly like amazing, because if you listen to a bunch of his albums chronologically, like yeah, they're all reggaeton albums except like the style is so different, and he's like changing his sound and evolving his sound and his lyricism every single album he does, like he truly is an artist. But that got me into listening to a lot of J Balvin, a lot of Rauw Alejandro, and other big reggaeton artists like Mike Towers. There's a lot of good ones to check out, and that music is fantastic, and it's getting a lot of publicity right now in American media because honestly, it's catchy and the beats go hard.
Yeah.
So like, music's good. It's good, man.
nice. This is a heavier uh feeling that we usually don't get in the anthem segment, but that's okay. It's awesome that you have such a rich backstory of for
Mhm.
this song.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, when you know people who experience things that
Yeah,
this music is
100%.
talking about, it hits different, man. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So, do you have any intention of learning Spanish?
Uh,
Uh,
eventually, maybe.
get on that
Eventually.
Babel train.
Or the
Yeah, no.
old classic Duolingo?
Yeah,
Nah,
yeah.
man, we got to get big Duolingo out of here. Yeah, we need some competitors.
Babel.
Sorry, too political. Unfollow.
Nice. All right. Uh, time.
We got about 5 minutes.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Anthem. Puerto Rican. Don't go to Donald Trump. Uh, sorry, it'd be so easy. That's why I said it.
Man, the only thing you keep saying Puerto Rico, and all I'm thinking of is the food, man.
Oh,
Puerto
I
Rican
mean,
food is just so good.
yeah.
What was the jibaritos?
Yes. Oh
Oh,
my
the
god.
plantain sandwiches. Oh, those things are ooh, so
Hmm.
good.
Yeah.
Have you ever had mofongo before?
And I haven't.
No.
No.
It's like a mashed plantains dish that they throw a lot of spices in, and they'll throw meat and all this stuff in. It's like that's my personal favorite out of all Puerto Rican food. Like if you ever go to a Puerto Rican place up north, if one exists, that serves mofongo, then definitely get some. Yeah, that's the thing.
Huh.
Cool.
Man, the thing I keep thinking of is the. This isn't a good thing. It's just what comes to mind. The meme where it's like, I feel Puerto Rican. I feel Puerto Rican right now.
Yeah, Orlando does have a big population though. Like and it's been interesting to watch because like I said, my best friend is a salsa trumpet player, and he does a lot of that. And before Hurricane Maria, it was a good place for that. Like there was a lot of Latin work because Florida,
Right.
except it's honestly become a mecca across the entire United States for salsa music here
Cool.
in Orlando. Like it's like I know a lot of people who I went to school with and who moved here who they are dedicated Latin music musicians. And like the only other place I can really think of existing like that is Miami, because
Right.
like obviously with the population, except it's serious, man. Like my friend, like 90% of the music work that he takes as a trumpet player is Latin gigs, and it'll be anything from playing in a bar in Kissimmee, Florida for $80, up to going on tour with a really big name artist and making probably some ungodly amount of money. Like there's a lot of work for that industry here in Orlando because of everything that happened with that hurricane and displacement and then just migration in general. So it's been cool to watch the city kind of develop an identity. When I first like lived in Orlando for all those years, like before snapshot, I guess, segue. Me and Nathan went to grad school together. That's
Yeah.
how we know each other. We both went to the Carnegie Mellon University up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um, sunny and beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right?
But before
That was
that, I grew up.
that was the first place you saw snow, wasn't it?
It was the first place I ever saw snow.
Yes, dude. I have
Yep.
that Snapchat saved to my phone of you and our other friend
Nick.
Nick. Yeah, you got a snowball and you go.
And I beamed him right
You
there,
did.
bro. Yeah, it was a dagger, man. Yeah, but before I moved up to Pittsburgh, I lived in Orlando for pretty much my entire life. And something that I always kind of had the complaints about was that the city didn't feel like it really had culture. Like because
Yeah,
Orlando is such a theme park oriented place, and it was kind of created as a like side product of Disney and Universal existing, and just like, oh, these places are here that draw a lot of people. Let's just make a city, and then like it always felt kind of like plastic and without a culture. But as sad as it is for the reason why things happen the way they are, Orlando has a culture now, and it's really cool to watch your home develop like that, even in spite of the reason why it happened, because now getting to live here, like I would say that the place I live has a defined culture, that didn't exist when I was growing up.
wow.
Very cool.
I never would have thought that Miami would be a place that you wouldn't see culture, but I mean that makes sense. Going from Orlando, and you're just like, yeah, we do the Disney thing, we do the Universal thing, and we do the big city thing at the same time. Like it's
Yeah,
yeah,
it was almost like a hollow place for a while, but
wow,
now there's culture, you know.
yeah.
So
What did you think of Pittsburgh's culture? Because it's very, I think it's kind of subtle compared to like the I'll go with flamboyancy of what you would find in Miami now.
hmm Yeah, no, I would agree. Pittsburgh, I thought was very subtle. Something that I loved about it up there was that it was a big city, like industrially, like it was very, very, very big, except it felt small at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't know if you got the same vibe, except like everything, even though it was big, it was accessible.
yes.
Um, People like you got on the bus and like people would talk to you. It wouldn't just be everybody staring at their phones, like, and it was a fairly friendly place, so like,
Mm,
yeah, I had a good vibe about the culture there. I thought, excuse me, oh, the beer burps are starting. Big city, small town vibes. I dug it.
yeah, yeah, definitely when there's a breakfast place that's in two different spots in the city and people know what you're talking about if you say the breakfast place usually. You remember that?
Which one?
Upsettingly, I can't remember the name at this moment.
My bad. Edited that out.
It's okay. I feel like it's like Millie's or something along those lines. There was one on Forbes Avenue, and then there was one in the Strip District.
I don't know if I know exactly what you're talking about, but that doesn't surprise me
Oh
knowing
man,
Pittsburgh,
okay.
like that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Everything felt small for sure.
yeah. I got it. On the break, I'll figure out what the hell I'm talking about.
But first, it's about time to wrap up the segment. So we're going to do ratings on the beer. So once again, we like to do this on a 5-star scale, doing about 1/4 increments. So sprucey spruce for me. I got to get a little flavor.
Yeah.
So the first sip, the spruce kind of punches you in the face. And I was a little bit nervous for the rest of my pour because I was afraid of getting punched in the face 8 to 10 times.
Not fun.
But it
Yeah,
actually it
that's a
mellowed
valid
out.
fear, man. I don't blame you for
It,
that.
it mellowed out a lot, which was good. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, "Oh man, I'm at the end of it," And when that happens with a beer, I can't justify giving any less than a 4.5.
Wow. Nice. For this Hop Slam, I believe it's the first one of the year for me. I'm pretty happy. It's what I remember, except it's like a little bit Christmas ale-y, which is good because it's still really cold. So, uh, it starts in like a Christmas ale mouthfeel, then moves to the hops, then moves to the honey at the end. I was happy with it. We're going with Just a 4.0, just because I know how much more I can like an IPA than this, but it's still
Mm.
good.
So, am I giving a rating for Green Dragon too?
Yeah.
Yes, out of 5.
Oh, big bet. Okay. Well, I mean, given that it's my anthem, I do have to give this a pretty good rating. I'm not gonna lie, and I feel like it would be adventurous to give it a 5, but I think I'm gonna have to.
Nice.
Love
Like
it.
it gets a 5 for drinkability. Like the flavor as a green tea base is unique, and I never had anything like that before. And for my people at, where's the name? Orange County Brewing, we got to get this a 5, and we got to get this out there so that my boys on this call can eventually get some Green Dragon, man.
Yes.
We got to get out there,
Sounds
okay?
it
So
sounds so
5,
good.
yeah, the 5 by BYO Beats. Hopefully, it catapults them into international stardom. So.
Right?
Hey, we're open. Um, so with that, we're gonna rinse out our glasses, pour our next drinks, and be back at you for segment number 2.
Welcome back to BYO Beats Podcast, your beer and music podcast. We are here with Matt Pieper, and we are into the childhood memory segment. So we're going to learn a bit about him after we find out what beers we're drinking. Matt, you're the only one with this one also, because you've got a ton of great Florida breweries down there. You were just telling us about Fort Myers, right?
Yeah. We were just talking about Fort Myers Brewing a second ago because Johnny was down there and I told him he needed to go. Yeah, they've got a lot of good stuff.
So what do you got for us today then? I
So
know it's not from
today,
Fort Myers.
yeah, I wish it. Oh, I wish it was, man. Yeah, it's hard to get that some of the stuff up here. I've got the Orange Blossom Pilsner from Orange Blossom Brewing Company here. It's made with orange blossom honey, and it is a Pilsner, as it says in the name. You might be shocked by that.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, it is very, very, very good. What are you guys drinking?
Yeah, I couldn't find anything orange flavored in my Mix of Six cooler. So I went with something a little bit more Western instead of Florida. This is a Huckleberry Blonde Ale. This is from Big Sky Brewing out of Montana. This one's called Huckett.
Oh.
I love this art. It's got like
Is
a
that spelled?
yeah
H-
Huckit with
Oh, I
a
love
very
it.
cool blue
Nice.
bird on there.
So if it's ever turned just a little bit too far.
Yeah, you might just see the UCK there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But you
Missoula,
never know.
Montana.
It might be saying duck it, man. You
Right.
never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't judge a book by its cover.
I went for the northern version of this. I just got Vat Blue, and it is a Pilsner, so it's kind of close. But I feel like definitely yours, Matt, will be more refreshing than this. Not that Labatt Blue isn't refreshing. It's
There.
just it's just I don't know. It's refreshing in a cold environment. That's why Johnny, that's your after hockey beer. I know that.
Yeah, and honestly, I haven't had it since Chicago, and I miss it so bad, bro.
Man, when I come and visit you, I'm bringing a case of this then.
Oh, I would love you forever.
Yeah.
Did Labatt Blue tell you to say all this? Did they pay you money under the table to be an endorser? Because man, the way you doubled back on that, you were like, not saying Labatt isn't refreshing, but you know.
So that's something that we've consciously done on this show is if you smack or if you besmirch a domestic name, then you are alienating a good amount of your viewers. Like even if it's not your favorite one, you can put your rating wherever you feel like it. But
This is a great warning for later on in this show.
I'm glad that I said it.
Stay tuned next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like please like speak your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Stay tuned to hear Matt besmirch which domestic beer distributor. We'll
Oh,
find out.
I've got two guesses, I guess.
Well, anyways, yeah, Labatt Blue is the nectar from the land up north.
Yeah. I
It's
believe
not
it
maple syrup.
was it one of my childhood memories? I think it would be because it's my dad's beer.
It might have been, yeah. And then I know
If you
I
like
had
it,
it. I
then
had it on my second Anthem or second or reliable. It was
oh,
second or
did you?
reliable.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe I kept it off
Mm,
because of that then.
yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
mm.
But yeah, I like it. It just doesn't sound like an orange pilsner. Orange pilsner just sounds so good.
Yeah, I almost grabbed an Oberon because orange, but then I'm like, well, Oberon's not really orange. I mean, it's
Yeah,
orangey, but it's not orange, you know?
yeah. And wheat is so fun. To me, wheat and pilsner are not that
Not at
close.
all the same. A blonde is
Hmm.
closer,
Yeah,
but yeah. Huckleberry is very fruity, very berry.
man,
Not
yeah.
very
And it's
citrus,
so
but
red.
I mean, I figured fruit is fruit, so we're going with the fruit.
Fruit is fruit, man.
Fruit is fruit. All right, so let's get into Matt and what he does and what he's all about in terms of music. So, Matt, we usually go for a post high school journey, unless you think there's like salient details before that. So, unless you have something in mind, go ahead and start at your time at UCF.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing to say probably pre-UCF is that like maybe it might be an interesting piece to know like as a listener, I was a person who came to music a little later on.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
like I had a fine high school band experience, like and I still have a good relationship with my high school band directors, like everything is fine except just the spark wasn't lit for me back then. So most of my musical formative years actually happened later on for me, so like college and beyond, as opposed to a lot of other people, like they have that spark when they're 13 that they just want to be a pro musician, or
Right. Right.
14. Like, some people are like, oh, I love playing this instrument, and that like is the spark for them. But honestly, for me, that wasn't it. Like I play the trumpet. The trumpet's cool. Like it's a cool thing, except like I always tell people that what I fell in love with wasn't the trumpet, it was music, and what I was exposed to that made me fall in love with it was orchestral music. So like I guess the only relevant piece in contrast to everything I just said that might be, of note is like when I was a senior in high school, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Like I was about to go to college. My parents wanted me to go to the local university, which is University of Central Florida in Orlando. Go Knights, charge on, national champions 2014. We weren't actually national champions. That's the joke.
Oh,
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
Yeah,
Undefeated.
yeah. Oh yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
yeah.
Somebody gets it though. Somebody gets it. We love it. I was gonna go to that college no matter what because that was where my parents wanted me to go, and they were more than willing to help me. And I was gonna live at home through college and stuff, and save a lot of money and not go into student debt. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then like a kid in a candy shop, I heard Mahler's Second Symphony for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this memory where it's like I was just sitting like in my parents' office writing an AP Lang paper, like English class, and I put on classical music because like at that time like classical music was like relaxing enough to where I was just like cool, this helps like the brain flow and stuff. But
Yeah.
then when I heard Mahler too for the first time, like that opening with the basses and the cello, it just like made my head perk up. And like at that moment I wasn't able to write another word of my English paper
Ah,
because I was just like so captivated with what was going around, and like, and it wasn't the trumpet, like that was the funny thing. It's like I've been playing for trumpet for like 7 years, and like nothing with the trumpet like ever captivated me like the cello and the bass is at the beginning of Mahler 2 ever did. So that like started a thing where I was listening to a lot of orchestra music, and then I remember like another one of my friends who I was in band with was going to go to college for music. So I started asking him, I was like, what do you want to do with that? And he was like, well, I want to play in an orchestra. And I was like, okay, can you do that? And he was like, yeah, there's full-time ones. Like it's really hard. You got to win a job, except you can. And
Yeah.
Honestly, like out of the jobs in music, it's like the most stable thing you could ask for. So that kind of checked off a lot of the boxes for me. Wow, I guess there's like 1 year of high school life that was relevant before I went to college, in this.
It's okay.
So yeah,
I mean,
so
yeah.
yeah, the more and more I think about it, I'm like, well, actually, I guess actually something was relevant.
Yeah.
So then it was like from that moment on, I decided I wanted to play in an orchestra. And I had never played in a youth orchestra before. I had never I didn't know how to play with a violin player. Like I had no idea. There was a whole section of repertoire and music that I just had no idea about, but all of a sudden I was like unbelievably captivated by it. And I started listening to everything. Like I listened to all the Beethoven symphonies, all the Mahler symphonies, all the Strauss tone poems, all the Tchaikovsky symphonies, Bruckner, like all the heavy hitters. And then tastes changed over time, but like all that stuff definitely really got me into music at first. And then I because I was going to go to the undergrad I was going to go to already. I signed up to go there, took an audition, got in, got a okay scholarship, and went there for my undergrad. So I went to the University of Central Florida for 4 years. Got my bachelor's degree in music performance. Bit of a tumultuous situation while I was there. I had three different college trumpet teachers, and not because they hired three at the same time to teach everybody. They kept on leaving. Like the guy who I originally went there to study with was there for 2 years, and he retired. And then after that, they brought in another guy. He was a really, really, really great player, except some stuff happens. Nothing like too bad, like nothing political, nothing with this university or something, but just some stuff in his life that made him want to move back home where he was from and start a life and all that. And totally understandable. And it just wasn't the right fit for him. But he ended up leaving uh, the first semester of my senior year when I was trying to audition for grad schools. And then we got a new professor in for that semester to teach me and help me figure out some stuff for grad schools. And then I um, auditioned at a couple, got into CMU where I met Nathan, and then ended up going there, got a master's degree. It was slightly interrupted by a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. And then I'm giving you, I guess, the short version. And if there's anything that you want to elaborate on along the way, like feel free to ask questions or anything. But like just giving you a short version. And
That's
then
okay.
got out of school, and then uh, luckily lucked into some teaching opportunities around this area that made it lucrative enough to where I could move back to Orlando and start a bit of a career. Got into some freelancing work, playing with all the full-time orchestras around in Florida, and then some other groups too, taking auditions the whole way, still studying with people and keeping the grind up. And then I won the audition for my position in the Orlando Philharmonic 4 months ago, about now at the time of recording. This was back in August, and I've been there ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. Like it's so. My first question is, in terms of all the different teachers that you saw, which one did you think you connected with the most?
As
And
far as as far as my undergrad goes, or as far as my life goes,
let's
like
go life, because yeah,
okay,
because I figure with three different professors in undergrad, it's hard to make an actual connection, and
yes,
that's
yeah,
something that a lot of people have to have. I had a better connection in grad school than I did in undergrad. I don't know if I really learned more as a result of that. I just was happier in lessons. So are you a person that really needs to happen? Like, do you need to have a solid personal relationship with your teachers, or not so much?
For me, I guess it depends on the situation. And I think it depends on the time that I was at my point in life to be able to answer that question
Okay.
effectively. Like when I was 18 and when I was still learning, the person I went to study with in my undergrad, he was my private teacher throughout high school years. His name's John Almeida. And
Okay.
I had a very close personal connection with him. Like very, very, very close. And that was important to me. And then when things kind of went the way they did, yeah, I didn't have as much of a personal connection with either of the two teachers after. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a connection, except, it was just different than the first one. So
Sure.
like so I would say out of personal connection wise, yeah, the most personal connection I had probably with a teacher was with my first teacher. Except then I would say after that, like something that having different teachers taught me was that even though a personal connection with a teacher is great, for me, that isn't what I needed. I didn't need someone to be a personal mentor to me or a second father. I frankly,
Sure.
I wanted someone who could teach me how to play the trumpet and who could teach me how to be a better musician and to be a better colleague and a better worker. So like some of the people that I guess changed my life over the years with that would have been my grad school teacher, Neil Berenson, who
Yeah.
is the second trumpet player in the Pittsburgh Symphony. um he took a chance on me at a time when I like definitely was not um a high quality player. And he took a chance on me and he saw that I had some potential, and I don't want to say it worked out, but
Yeah.
I'm very glad he took the chance on me, and taught me how to play. I came to him with like this slew of issues and just like in a very frustrated place with my own playing. And something that I'll always appreciate Neil doing was like I would just like be unable to articulate a note or be unable to play a phrase because I was just struggling with some stuff. And he would just look at me to be like, calm down, you're gonna get better, just one day at a time, fix one thing at a time.
Mm.
And that approach of kind of just simplifying all the crazy things that were going on in my head with music set me up for like a later vein of improvement. Like I got a lot better studying with him, and that was amazing, except like really just a couple of the long life lessons that he taught me that set me up for being able to like sustain improvement for the rest of my life and to not get muddled with too many thoughts, to keep things simple when you need to keep them simple, but then also to know when you have to go get back in the shed and work on something. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Yeah.
like it's good to get out of your head and play music, except when something doesn't work 5 times, maybe you need to get back in your head and figure it out.
Sure.
That was
Sure.
a valuable lesson that he taught me. And that has stuck with me for forever. And then after school, after I shouldn't say after school because life is school, but after graduating with our master's degree, moved back down here and I started studying a good bit virtually because I knew I needed a lot more work in my playing to be able to be competitive. I knew how hard it was to make it in the industry, and I knew the level I was at, and I knew I wasn't ready yet to win a job. So I like tried it for a couple months to see if I could get better and if I could just do a bunch of stuff myself. And I was getting better, but not enough. And then I reached out to the second trumpet player in the Boston Symphony, Ben Wright, and I did about like 12 to 14 virtual lessons with him over the course of 5 or 6 months.
Woo.
And he was very gracious with his time. And he really pushed me, he made me like ask a lot of questions, and he made me work hard. And it was when I started studying with him that I started advancing at auditions. Like before I studied with Ben, I hadn't advanced in an audition yet. And then as soon as I started studying with him, all of a sudden I started advancing at a couple, so there was definitely some proof in the pudding of like, okay, what this guy's telling me to do is starting to work, but my relationship with Ben, even though he's a great guy and he was a great teacher and, everything, it was a very transactional trumpet relationship. He was
Okay.
telling me how to get better. He was telling me what to do, and I would go do it, and I would come back the next week, and he would be like, "Yeah, it's better," or he would be like, "Did you really practice that?" And those were the lessons where like afterwards I would go grab a beer and a box of wings and come back to the place I lived and drown my sorrows in food and
Sure.
beer. Except then the next day I just get back to it and practice, and then eventually he'd be like, "Yeah, you have gotten better at that. Yeah, that works. That's a lot better." you know
Nice.
so that was transformative for me. All the while I was also studying on the side with a couple people around here in Florida. Like one of my playing inspirations from when I was younger is the guy who plays principal trumpet down at the Florida Orchestra. His name's Rob Smith. He's an unbelievable trumpet player who has made finals for all these professional auditions in big places, won a couple, except just didn't get it to work, like didn't pass a trial, kind of
Oh, okay.
stuff, but he's just this unbelievable monster of a player. Like I'll take it to my grave that guy, if he ever sees this podcast, he'd be flattered, hopefully, but but Rob is like, he's as good of a player as there is in the entire world. Like when it comes to mechanically operating the trumpet and just being able to execute anything at any given time, I've heard that guy do some freak stuff, and he's unbelievable. He was in finals for Chicago's principal job a bunch of times. He won a job in San Francisco, was in finals a bunch of other places that I'm not sure about, so I don't want to put false information out on the internet. But just you get the grip. Guy's a monster player, and he was a big, big, big mentor for me. Like a lot of things that I was working on and things that I kind of hear in my head to this day. Like if I were to think of like how would I want to play that, like the sound I hear in my head is Rob. you
Right.
know it's like that's what I'm always working towards. And he's unbelievable, and like my mentorship with him kind of like it was unique because and before I even say that, I would say, like I said, I also played for a couple other people. Like I played for the principal trumpet player down in Naples, Matt Sonneborn, a good bit. Kevin Carabell, who's a really good friend of mine, who's the principal trumpet up in Jacksonville Symphony. And then other people along the way. I don't want to forget anybody or make anybody not feel welcome, or be
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
why didn't Matt mention me or something. To all your hundreds of watchers, you know, but like, yeah, those are the kind of the things that comes to mind. But the cool thing that I started noticing is that specifically with Rob and Kevin, um, they're my friends, my colleagues, and I've learned a lot from them. Except I got a different perspective going and playing mocks for them, and then another one when I would go sub in their orchestras and hear them do the job.
Okay. Wow.
Because I like what when I was freelancing down here, I like through just some hard work on my part and some diligence and then some luck that things were opening up because everything in life is opportunity, and just like being kind of at the right place at the right time. Like a lot of vacancies and a lot of need for work down in these full-time orchestras in Florida. And like I played a lot with Jacksonville, I played a lot with Sarasota and with Florida Orchestra where Rob plays, and like it was great to hear these people do the job. Because you'll hear somebody say that you should do something like, yeah, practice this because you'll never want to have this happen in a rehearsal, and then you'll hear that the thing that they told you to practice so that you don't want it to ever happen in the rehearsal, they did that so it didn't happen in the rehearsal later that week. So
Ah.
it's not just that they're preaching thoughts at you. These are like
Right.
real life lessons,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And
They
then
brought it up
also like,
because they also make that mistake. Yeah.
yeah, and hearing people do the job is very different than hearing a teacher say things to you. And it kind of brings you a bit of a realistic approach to music. Like a big thing that I realized early on, like hearing all these great players play, was it's like these people have really great days, these people have average days, and these people have, for them, relatively not great days. But the difference between all of that for them and all of a student's days is just that the level is relatively higher. And like notice I said relatively bad days, relatively not great days.
Sure.
Because to someone who's on that high of a level, a relatively not great day is missing a couple notes during a concert and bursting about it and go drowning in whiskey at home. You know? um and you get to hear people through these things. And for me that was a big thing, because I learned a lot from all them outside of school. Like I remember I was prepping for some audition like about 8 or 9 months ago, um, maybe more, doesn't matter. And while I was prepping for that audition, I was playing a couple consecutive weeks down in the Florida Orchestra. And I was playing second and third and fourth to Rob on a couple programs in a row. Like there was one week we were doing a Pops program, another one we were doing Ein Heldenleben, and then on another one we were doing what was it? It was this really freaking cool program with a Mason Bates piece and a bunch of like newish masterworks. Like it was a masterworks concert, but it was a bunch of stuff that you necessarily wouldn't have heard. And then Rhapsody in Blue. That was the last thing, except everything else was other things. And like I remember while I was down there, I took it as an opportunity. I was like, "Hey Rob, could I just like play mocks like 2 or 3 times a week for you during these 3 weeks that I'm down there?" And he was like, "Absolutely." And he was like super generous with his time and gracious and everything. And I would just come over to his house and play a bunch of stuff. And it was cool because I would go play for him that morning, and then he'd be like, "I'll see you in 3 hours." and then he would go to rehearsal, and then I'd get to, after he had told me to do all this stuff with my excerpts and with all this stuff, I'd get to hear him lay. Can we curse on this podcast?
Sure.
Sure.
I would get to hear him lay shit down in the orchestra like I'd never heard it before, and it'd be like, oh, that's what he means. you know and that was like, for me as kind of an audio learner, that was really important for me, because I needed to not just have someone tell me what to do at that point in my life. Like throughout the last couple of years, I would say it's like I needed someone to tell me what to do, and I needed to hear it. And it honestly wasn't an either or thing. Like, somebody telling me what to do wouldn't just do everything, and me just hearing something wouldn't completely fix everything. It was kind of a marriage of the two for me to find my own path of improvement. So, like, I remember those 3 weeks like very, very, very fondly, because I gained a lot of perspective and a lot of improvement through that, just like knowing what I had to do to get better, but then also hearing Rob play that,
Yeah.
you know.
Cool.
And then, I mean, on the side, other than that, I've taken lessons with a couple other people over the years. Like, whenever I go visit my fiance up in Chicago, I go play for Dave Bilger, who's the teacher at Northwestern. And yeah, and then I play pretty routinely for Tony Prisk, who's the second player up in Philadelphia. He's been really, really, really helpful towards me on getting better. Like, I remember the first time that I ever went and played for him was at his house up in Philly, and he was like super gracious with his time. He gave me like a 3 hour lesson in his basement, and just went through like all these fundamentals with me. And, like, I mean, he was just showing me like how to do lip slurs well, how to do this well. And like, I walked away from that lesson like, I can play the trumpet now,
Right.
except it wasn't that. But
Well,
it was like, but I heard it, and I was like, okay, wow, that's insane. Somebody finally said, this is how you do a lip slur. This is how
yeah.
you do this, and it was like, oh my God. And I have that lesson recording still on my phone, and I just like listen back to it, like sometimes like monthly, and it's like, and I have like a little clip saved of it, of where he played like an amazing lip slur. And I was like, oh, that was amazing. So like, I played for Tony a good bit. And just, yeah, like, one of my big monikers with like music is that you're just always growing and you're always learning, and like, if there's ever a point where you stop asking for ears, or where you stop trying to elevate where you're at, then you don't just like not improve, you get worse. Everybody has their things that come well to them that they don't need much feedback on, and everybody has little pitfalls that they fall into. And if you're not constantly addressing those pitfalls and trying to elevate both your ears and your playing, then stuff happens.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So that was a lot of really cool stuff about your past. It's time for us. We still have a song to listen to for this
Oh,
segment.
geez.
So for the childhood memory selection, we have from Red Jumpsuit Apparatus the song "Face Down." So we're gonna listen to that and be right back. Okay, so we just listened to Face Down by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. So, Matt, briefly, why is this your childhood memory?
Well, I mean, I'm a big pop punk fan. So like, outside of classical music, which is my job, some of the music that helps me unwind is, like we talked about earlier, about reggaeton and rap and pop punk, are like my three that I very classically listen to outside of my job music. So like, this song "Face Down" by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus was like the song that turned me into pop punk kind of music. Like, I remember it popping up on my, what was the thing called? It was like, do you guys remember the Best Buy MP3 player?
Not specifically,
I
no.
didn't have
Like,
one, but I knew people who
oh
had them.
man, I had this computer program called Rhapsody, and
Yep,
yeah, you guys remember that?
I do
And
remember that.
whichever MP3 player I had was associated with this Rhapsody program, and Rhapsody recommended that song for me, and I heard it, and I was just hooked. You know,
Yep.
and that turned me into a pop punk listener, and then it turned into Yellow Card, and turned into Offspring, and everything else. But it all started with "Face Down" by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Wow. Man,
Awesome.
the fact that you mentioned Yellow Card makes me really want you to listen to Four Stars now. That they had a ton of influence from them, like direct influence, actually.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll check them out.
Yeah, if you want to, listeners and Matt, if you want to hear more about that, go listen to their episode with us from season 2,
Season 2.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. They're great.
4 Stars. Great Chicago band.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you go to a lot of concerts for like pop punk shows, or is it more because you have so much time spent in the classical world for your job that it's kind of hard to do that?
I would say it's more of the second for me. And as sad as that is to say, I just don't end up going to many concerts because I'm playing so many.
Mm.
Um, not just not to sound boastful saying that, but like
No,
kind
you
of
have your
like what
weekend though. Yeah.
but when you're playing a couple concerts a week, like the last thing you kind of want to do with your free time most of the time is go to another, unless it's something really fulfilling and really great. And so like I don't go to too many concerts, I would say in general, but I am a big listener to that music outside of work. Like I said, that's kind of what helps me unwind and turn my brain off and just kind of like enjoy things and hear music and not want to instantly start analyzing things.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yes. That's a good pop punk session after a stupid hard day at work is my favorite thing to do. Like,
Yep.
and I have a 30-minute commute now, so like it's pretty nice.
Ooh, yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
perfect, honestly. I used to my last commute was 20 minutes, and I used to try and turn it into 15. But like this 30 does not include any highway time, so I'm just like, chill out. It's gonna be 30 minutes. It doesn't matter what you do. You can pass as many cars as you want. It's still 30 minutes. So 30 minutes music it is. So I'm gonna be creating a lot more 30-minute playlists in the next few months.
Yeah, I love how a lot of pop punk albums tend to either be like they're either 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 60. It's like
Ah,
Yeah.
so you tend to learn, okay, this one, if I want to lock in for 30 minutes, I can put this album on or this one or this one. If I want to lock in for an hour, I got these.
Yes. Nice.
Cool.
All
Yeah, I
right.
love how that's almost a universal experience. Doesn't matter what career you're in, but if you need to
mhm.
unwind, it seems like pop punk is a very good blanket for that. Just
Yeah.
enough angst to get you through it.
Uh,
There's some band I got exposed to recently, and I can't remember the name of it. One sec, let me pull this up. It's like a very 2000s down with the entire system kind of pop punk band. What are they? Pennywise.
I've
Have you guys
heard
oh,
some
ever heard of
Pennywise songs. Yep.
Pennywise? Yeah, when I'm like really mad after a long day of work and I'm like F everything, like like Pennywise is a good thing because it's just like burn it all down, nothing's good kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, man, down with the bourgeoisie. Sorry, too political.
Too
Edit that out.
political.
Yeah.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and get to our ratings so we can. We still got
hey,
4 more segments. So,
real
do you
real
have?
quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is on the beer. I don't think we asked why Pilsner is Matt's childhood memory.
Yeah. So, real quick, tell us about that, and then
Oh,
we'll get to our ratings.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean this like childhood memory, I mean like for the sake of legal things on this podcast, I definitely never consumed an alcoholic beverage under the age of 21.
Yeah.
But when I eventually did consume craft alcoholic beverages when I was absolutely over the legal age of 21 for sure, with no questions about it. The first one that I ever really started liking was this one, Boston Pilsner one. And like honestly, I was at Publix and they had a 4-pack of it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks good," and it was good. So,
Nice.
Epic.
Cool.
not a too complicated story with that one,
That's
except
good.
just a good oldie goldie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's your rating for it?
Rating, you see, if I were to use the 5 that I gave that Green Dragon as like a baseline for the rest of these beers within their own individual rights, obviously, this one I'd have to give a 4.5.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, a 4.5. It gets the nostalgia factor, but it's not a perfect beer. And
Sure.
it's already got enough notoriety behind the brewery already to where they don't need me to advertise them. So,
Fair enough. For this Labatt Blue, I didn't drink as much of it as I thought I would, but Johnny, you were totally right. Maybe I just was misremembering, and it's been a while since I've had one. This is quite refreshing. So anything that I missaid or said on purpose from before, scratch that. It's good. We're going at 3.75, which is very high for me on a domestic level.
It is.
there we
It's
go.
definitely.
Big Labatt's not coming for you anymore. Don't worry about it.
All right, so I remember I had the Huckleberry Blonde Ale from Big Sky Brewing out of Montana. Um, Huckleberry is a very strong flavor, and I think they do a good job of not overwhelming the huckleberry flavor. But the only thing I can think of when I'm drinking this is Soft Parade.
Ah,
Except this is 5% and Soft Parade is what, like 7?
7 point whatever. Yeah, yeah.
7 point something. So it's good because I would have a hard time getting Soft Parade out here, so this would be a good sub. It's not really hitting in January. But if I
Yeah.
had this again in June, it'd probably be a lot better. Like this is a really good like patio beer.
Sure.
So
Round two.
yeah,
We'll go
round
for
two.
round two.
I'll come get
Round
it back in the summer, and I'll give it another try.
Run
But
it back.
for now, I think I'm gonna settle at a 3.25. Definitely, I would drink it again, but maybe not in the winter. So with that, we're gonna rinse out our glasses. Oh, this is the end of the episode for this week. So remember, if you like it, tell your friends. Do the whole share on social media thing. You can hit us up on Instagram at BYOBeats_podcast. Spotify, YouTube. Shout out YouTube gang. We're
Yes.
there. Twitch.tv/BYOBeats_podcast. We're doing that now. We try to stream at least once a month. On the Facebook, BYOBeats_podcast. If you want to email us, BYOBeats.business@gmail.com for all of those things. We're going to rinse out our glasses, pour our next ones, and see you again next week for segments 3 and 4.